All right, it's rolling.
I must admit she makes me mad. She's a low-down, dirty, caffeinated woman. You know she makes me mad.
Well, hello and welcome to the NatterCast for our special Netflix cast of Atypical. I am Jason Schenkel of Schenkel Studios, and I am here with my Atypicals. I have, as always, Sion. And Gary is with us.
Hey, everyone.
And today we have a very special guest.
My bestie.
Sion's bestie.
And favorite person to make films with.
Guillermo Gomez, and we're currently working on his film, which we'll talk about a little bit. So say hi, Guillermo.
Nice to be here.
And we're here tonight to talk to you about Netflix's series Atypical, which is a coming-of-age drama comedy about a young man who is on the autistic spectrum. And we have a little bit of background on that. Normally I would put us out completely here, but we have a lot to discuss tonight, so I want to kind of just roll into it. Now, Guillermo, you are diagnosed with Asperger's, is that correct?
Yes. I was diagnosed with ASD, I believe, at age 5. You know, my parents took me to this diagnostic school in San Francisco, and we stayed in these rooms for a couple nights, I think. That was 1988 when I was 5, and I didn't find out about my diagnosis until like 1993, which is, you know, when my mom told me that I had autism. And so I didn't know what the word meant at the time, but I had heard it a few times. And, you know, it was at that point, like when I was 10, that I started to realize that there was something different about me. And then in my teen years, I was told that specifically I have Asperger's syndrome. You know, that's something that I didn't really talk about during my teen years because you know, I knew my peers would make fun of it, make fun of the name. I mean, I knew what the environment was like. And so...
Sorry.
Okay, now I can hear myself.
Yeah, sorry. The volume control's off.
Yeah.
There we go.
Anyway, over the years, my mom and my dad have been researching Asperger's and researching autism and finding that it has its advantages. Like... Especially, you know, as pointed out by Tony Atwood, who was like a big advocate for people like me.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, you're very high functioning. Yes. You know, you're a filmmaker, by the way, and has made some wonderful movies that I think have a great deal of heart. And this new one, Poster Boy, that we're working on, which is about a case of mistaken identity in the Castro, done as a silent film. Everybody who has touched this thing has fallen in love with it. So,
well, that's good to hear. You know, I don't think I've sunk in as much time and money and effort into anything as much as this. It's kind of like a magnum opus in a way.
it's your Apocalypse Now, your Godfather. So
now, and tell us where it's going to premiere and when.
Well, it's going to premiere at the Castro Theater as part of the Round 34 Scary Cow Film Festival on July 7th of this year. And that's a Saturday. So,
Come out and see
Come
it.
out and see
We'll
it,
all
yeah.
be there.
Yes,
Yeah.
indeed.
Yeah.
Bring your rainbow flags.
I might even wear something nice.
Yeah. Now, in addition, we have Gary here, who's as you know, has co-hosted with us quite a bit. We did especially our presidential series, and our conspiracy theory series, and the Untouchables, which was a lot of fun. And we're going to be going into our Dave Toschi the detective series for San Francisco,
The Summer of Dave.
The Summer of Dave. But your daughter is autistic.
Yes,
as well.
I got excited about sitting in on this cast. I originally wasn't going to because I haven't been following the show, but I did pick up. I saw the first 3 episodes, and I do have a daughter who's much more severely impaired than Guillermo. She has she's full blown autism. She's nonverbal, and it's So I wanted to kind of sit in, kind of weigh in, talk a little bit with Guillermo.
Okay.
Fantastic. And Sion, you have a little bit of work history as well.
Yeah, a really long time ago I was introduced to more low functioning, and I just got along naturally, and I just always have. And I don't know how to explain it, but G-Man's giggling because we're really close friends now, and it's just a really good relationship. And I don't know. I like the honesty and the frankness. Like when you said your parents were looking for advantages. Yeah, if you want a relationship with someone who's honest, go Asperger.
Well, we see that on the show, definitely. Like
Yes.
when Paige is trying to be subtle. Why don't we study together? And it's like, that would not benefit me. It's like, okay. So anyway, and so we all, Guillermo actually asked us to do this as a cast, and we like to do a Netflix cast every month, and I feel like this is a great topic for it, and so we got through the show, and so we're going to discuss the chapters a little bit, but I also want to get a perspective, from all of you based on your experiences, but largely from Guillermo, of how Sam comes across and how the relationships with Sam come across and how the elements of the show go.
All right, well...
why don't we begin?
Yeah, I think I'll start by talking about how I feel about each character. For instance, the whole series revolves around Sam, played by Keir Gilchrist.
Yes.
And they play up his honesty, both good and bad, the most, because, like, right from the beginning, he tells his therapist, "I can see your bra." Which is something that I don't think I would say, but probably used to.
Maybe in high school.
Yeah. But anyway, overall, he seems to be, like, in his own world, and, he doesn't seem to have, like, a broad enough range of emotion. Now, I understand that there really are some people like that, who would rather not focus on their emotional baggage, I guess.
Yeah.
And speaking of people who don't focus on emotional baggage, let's get into Zahid.
Zahid.
Now, this guy is pretty interesting, and he works with Sam at Techtropolis.
I love this character.
Yes.
Yeah, you guys all like Zahid a lot.
Yeah, well, he's trying to give Sam advice on how to pick up girls because he himself is a pickup artist who's, like, right around Sam's age.
And we actually do see him with women, too. It's like, he's not
Making
fake.
out and everything.
Yeah.
But he's shameless. He, like, hits on Sam's mom.
Yeah.
And he knows
with her. I don't know that.
Right.
And he knows strippers.
Right. Yeah. And when he has to, like, the guys are working in the garage and the women are working in the living room, and he comes over.
Yeah.
Right. I like Zahid. I find him tonally a little bit off on the show. He feels like he belongs in 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Yeah, or
maybe
Superbad.
Or Superbad, or some kind of Judd Apatow type of thing. But I also think that that's an interesting way of perceiving socialization from the spectrum. It's like we must seem like absurd comedy characters at times, given our attitudes and whatnot as NTs, they call us.
Yes.
Neurotypicals.
So,
Now,
Guillermo, I wanted to ask you, one of the things they play up with Sam is his inability to read social cues and things like that. Was that something that you experienced?
Well,
as well?
yeah, I think
could
so.
Could you not tell if someone was mad or being sarcastic, that kind of thing?
Whenever somebody says anything with, like, a straight face, like, for instance, earlier I asked, "Can I use the restroom?" And
He's getting a
Jason
workout
said,
with-
"No, you got to use the floor
That
like
was me,
everyone
yeah.
else."
That's Sion's joke.
Okay, and so
you're getting a full dose of.
He didn't drop trout.
right,
No, yeah, no, he. Yeah, with me as your friend, you get overload on sarcasm.
yeah. But anyway, like throughout high school, I learned to detect sarcasm, especially from guys who would prank call me.
Oh.
Yeah, this was before cyberbullying became a thing.
You were in on the ground floor on the cyberbullying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, well, let's continue with the character breakdown.
Yes. On to Casey. This is Sam's sister, and I think throughout the series she has the least interaction with her brother, even though she sticks up for him and even tries to help him with his online dating profile. And she believes in doing the right thing, and she's on the track team, and sometimes her morals get her a little bit into trouble, I think.
She gets a little punchy.
Yes.
Well, I know.
Especially when she's sticking up for a classmate whose locker has been written on.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah, I
right.
remember
She's
that.
being kids being bullied.
Right. And she represents an interesting dynamic that we see. She's very protective of her brother. She bullies him a little bit too, though, the way you do with siblings.
Little teases, yeah.
Yes.
But Indian burn stuff, and he punches his arm. But also that, she's accomplished, and it kind of feels like an attention deficit on her throughout the series.
Oh.
As Sam, needs more, and also as Elsie and Doug. Whatever they're not giving to Sam, they're trying to work out their own relationship.
Yeah.
And so Casey feels kind of left behind.
Yeah, and
because she's capable.
That absolutely does happen. I experienced that in my family. I have 3 children. The middle one is the one with autism, and she required so much of our attention that the others they
Felt that
definitely got
deficit.
left behind. Yeah, they and we were aware of it. And we felt bad about it, but there's nothing we could do. This child required, and as I said, she's much more severely impaired than Guillermo is.
I mean, I think with Sam, you could share space a little bit more. Definitely.
But it did hit home to me. I really I identify with Elsa, I think, the most on this show.
Yes, Elsa, the mother.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, she seems to have struggled the most with Sam's diagnosis, especially after her husband Doug left. I think she's the least stable character on the show because I get the sense that she doesn't want to be there, that she'd rather be somewhere else. Especially when it has to do with Sam, because she's trying to protect him, trying really hard to protect him from being hurt, and she's had to deal with all of his meltdowns and all of his misunderstandings with others. She's had to, sort of clean up after him in a way.
Well, she had to do all the heavy lifting.
Well, let's discuss the timeline real
mom.
quick. So Doug leaves for 8 months.
Yeah.
Yes.
When Sam and Casey are young children, they're like 3 and 1 or something.
That's
It's
horrific.
too early for Casey, which is horrific, but it's also 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Right, and clearly they've stayed together or whatever, but this keeps coming up as this wound for her. And I think a part of it is she resents him taking the entitlement to do that when she wants to do it as well. She would, right? Because it's not like he left for 20 years. I kind of got that impression when first watching the show. I missed the time period. It's like, did he just come back? It's like, no, they're processing a 15-year-old wound. And I think it speaks a little bit to what I think is one of the great things about the show is that, Sam is socially dysfunctional in a lot of ways. So is everybody else.
Yeah.
So is everyone in the show is neurotypical.
They're all having similar relation and sexual problems.
And communication,
every single one of the characters. It's not just Sam.
Right. And I think it comes off very well with Doug and Elsie.
Yeah, I think Elsie just wants to be a kid again.
Yeah.
She wants to be a teenager again.
Yes, which is why she hooks up with the bartender.
Yeah, it's like a mess.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she criticizes the bartender for the thing that she's attracted to him.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, because the bartender's like, I forget what it was. I went to Cabo decided last week I just jumped on a plane. He's unattached, right, and kind of sexy, no responsibilities, no kids, no wife and family or anything like that, and can just go do what he wants, and that draws her in.
Yes.
And then the minute he needs any emotional support from her, that's it. It's over for her.
Yeah.
Right? Because she's not in the market for anybody else having a need.
Yeah.
And she even admits to him right from the get-go that she's quote unquote mean to people I like.
Mean to people I like. Yeah, it was in Antarctica. She said that the first episode.
Yeah. Okay. Speaking of Antarctica, Sam is fascinated with that continent and wants to move there because it's like the most quiet place, and he's fascinated with...
So is Jason.
I'm fascinated. I don't want to move to Antarctica. I'm fascinated with it, of course.
Well, anyway,
it's a fascinating place.
Anyway, Sam knows a lot about Antarctica, and he knows a lot about penguins and seals and other mammals that live around there. He's very interested in their... interactions and their mating habits, it seems, because he's always, throughout the series, he narrates it like it's a nature documentary in a way.
Right.
As if he's drawing connections between the animals he's interested in and the people around him in the series.
Right. Well, and also Netflix is promoting Frozen Planet. So they have him watching Frozen Planet. It's like having him eat Trick cereal or something, right?
Yeah.
It fits his character. But we also watched Frozen Planet,
which is awesome.
Is totally awesome. I don't know if we're going to podcast it. I think, long story short, it sucks to be a penguin.
Yes.
We laugh at them. They're little funny little creatures. You can't tell the boys from the girls.
Yeah.
But their life sucks so bad, and they have to look goofy while doing it.
Yes.
That it as a metaphor for someone who feels a social attachment, dysfunction. That the penguin is perfect. It's like, this is tougher. I'm doing something harder than you guys are doing, and
looking cute,
and not even looking like I'm tough while I'm doing it.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the penguins of Madagascar, but that's another story.
That's another story. Have you come back for that one? So. Okay, so we have Elsie and Doug.
Doug, he is one of the more sympathetic characters, I think, because he's done wrong, but he feels guilty about it, and he's trying to make up for it. He knows that it was wrong of him to leave, and he's now trying to be closer to his son.
Yeah.
He supports the idea of Sam dating and wanting a girlfriend.
Although it's funny that contrast that with how he reacted when he found out that Casey was dating this boy.
Well, he's an EMT, and the driver. He's like rationalizing. He's saying, "Oh, my daughter, she had her first kiss or whatever." But she comes to me with stuff, and I'm sure things are going to be fine. Yeah. And the guy's like, "That's what I thought too. Being a grandpa is fun. You're going to enjoy it." Yeah. I don't know. Casey does this. You know what? Everything we've seen Casey do, she's got some. I agree. She shouldn't be smacking people around so much. But aside from that, these are some pretty responsible teenagers.
Yeah.
That we see on the show, generally speaking.
Well, Casey's been thrown into that role, and there's a role reversal there too. It's usually the brothers that in high school look out for the sister. She's the one protecting him, that kind of thing. And
I even like Evan, and I'm kind of programmed not to like guys like Evan.
Now, Evan is the one Casey's dating?
Yeah, the boyfriend,
okay.
Right? So he's like this good-looking blonde kid, who's kind of got a bad boy reputation.
He seems kind of dumb.
Maybe a little bit, but he seems to be on her side. And truthful.
Yes, he's genuine in his approach.
And he did wrong too, and he's embarrassed by it, and he has some reputation for being some kind of major master criminal, and he stole a bunch of
clarinets,
tuba and a couple clarinets, and so. But it reminds me of I've gotten into trouble like that when I was a teenager, and where it's there is this thing of like, on the one hand, you kind of feel a little bit like a rebel and a badass, but mostly you feel like an asshole.
Yeah. And these days we're living in an age where more and more teenagers are, as they say, woke. And so, it makes sense that people like Casey and Evan, that they would be on Sam's side.
Yeah.
Yeah, because in families where things like autism and also things like different sexualities, when those affect different families, then it becomes personal and they become more sensitive to those around them and more caring, I guess.
Well, it's like all those politicians who suddenly started supporting gay marriage when their kids came out.
Yeah.
It's like when it happens to me, and I think that's because the theme here is empathy, right?
Yes.
It's different kinds of empathy and picking up social cues and that kind of thing. And one of the greatest forms of empathy is self-empathy, right? And we quite often see that people will be very glib and dismissive of alternate sexuality or people on the spectrum or anything else until it affects them. And then all of a sudden they're champions of it, or at least highly tolerant or whatever.
Yeah.
But
Doug, going back to Doug, I like the way he's kind of an everyman. He's trying to be the good guy. I think he's trying to be more of a friend to the kids because Mom is
he's kind of a Dan Connor type.
Trying to balance that out. But my one criticism of Doug is, they show him, speaking metaphorically, using, what do they call
analogies and such.
Right. And he would know not to do that with his son, especially by the time his son was 15
because of
so.
just the hyper-literalism.
Right.
It's difficult to say.
Right. I wouldn't have written him that way.
Don't fly too close to the sun.
Yeah. Or he calls him the cock of the walk.
I remember cock of the walk.
Yeah.
But I could also see, maybe he would know not to do that, but also he might poke that tooth every now and again, because that's the way he likes. He's a poetic kind of guy.
Or it could be he's trying to, prepare his son for the way the world is.
Perhaps.
Yeah. Okay. And it also helps, for me, I think it also helps that Doug is played by one of my favorite actors, Michael Rappaport. Yes, and you may have seen him in stuff like The War at Home or also Chappelle's Show. My favorite thing that he's been in so
Guillermo?
far. What?
My brother-in-law wrote that.
Oh?
Yeah, I was going to... You set me right up for...
Ryan Schenkel wrote A War at Home.
Well, he was a writer. He was he was not the writer.
Anyway, my favorite thing of Michael's is, his first role, which is a 1991 flick called Zebrahead.
That is his best role, I think. Yeah. Well, we like True Romance as well.
Yeah, he was pretty funny in True Romance.
But that's not really a great role.
Yeah.
So much, No, but Zebrahead is really, really good. And it deals a little bit with this kind of alienation. He's an alienated character.
Yeah. And now I'm going to go on to Julia, who is Sam's therapist. Julia is a very smart, attractive, 30-something Asian American woman, and she helps Sam with things like eye contact and tries to steer him on the right path. And needless to say, Sam is attracted to her, and why wouldn't he be?
Yeah. She's very much like a little China doll.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah.
Your words, not mine.
Yes.
But she's trying to help him. But
there's the way she dresses.
Yeah, but she seems like she gives him advice that a PhD wouldn't give. If he can interpret it and go home to Mom and say, "Oh, Julia says I should get laid." That kind of thing.
So that's Amy Okuda. She was in The Good Place.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
She's a good placer.
Yeah,
she played Gail. Watch that. She seems perfect for The Good Place. Have you seen The Good Place?
I've heard of it. It's got Kristen Bell, Ted Danson.
Yeah, but I mean, the premise is really great.
Yeah.
And some of the character interactions are really, really cool.
I've been meaning to check that out.
Yeah, it's worth checking out. And Atypical. So, Julia, I find interesting because... she is. China doll might be okay, whatever. But
no, it just looks like she's trying to present that with her makeup and like she's playing to that.
But she plays that a little bit.
Yeah.
But also, it's interesting that he's working with somebody who is comes from a background that's going to be looking for very subtle social cues, right? The deep Asian backgrounds, Chinese and Japanese. The social cues, they're subtle to us anyway. Maybe ours are subtle to them. to be fair about it. But she's someone who's going to communicate very much with an eye roll or a move of a hand or something else in her natural life. And I wonder how appropriate, because she's sexualized to him
in a way.
In a way, he falls in love with her.
Yes.
Right? And I'm kind of like with Elsa that I don't know that she's the right therapist. I don't know that much of the advice that she gives.
Yes,
on the show.
Elsa really hates her.
Elsa, I don't know if it's just worthy of hate, but it feels to me like Julia gives either very general advice that's probably decent, but I haven't heard any deep.
Well, you also learn that Julia has got her own basket full of crazy.
Yeah, she's got a basket full of crazy as well.
Yeah.
So
she's hyper feminine in affect.
Yeah. And she's in this. We'll get into it when we get the plot, right?
Yes.
But the relationship she has with her fiance, boyfriend, whatever it is, the way that unfolds over the incident that occurs, it's like, okay, I mean, it's clearly a bizarre mystery, but she took it, she escalates it, she escalated a situation.
Well, just like everybody in this show, Sam is not alone. Everyone in the show is showing their vulnerabilities and awkwardness socially and sexually. Yeah. Every single character,
except for Zahid. Yes.
Yeah.
But I think we ought to see his vulnerability. I think he will remain a Judd Apatow character for me until we see some vulnerability.
He might get his heart broken.
Or we see his actual background. We see how much of this is fronting. Right? How much of this, what his real insecurities are. He's the one who's not expressed any insecurity. Everybody else has.
Right.
Even Julia has. I'm sorry?
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. I mean, you guys like him. I think you guys like him more than I do, but I kind of feel like, okay, everybody else on this show is within the bounds of a Hollywood production, very realistic people. It feels like these are people who would exist. And he doesn't really, he's
a bit broad.
He feels like he would be bantering with Michael Scott.
Yeah. Now, are you guys all totally caught up with this show?
Yes.
Yeah, we've watched it a couple
times so
times.
far.
Yeah. So if you don't get spoiled, we're probably going to move forward on spoilers.
I'm on 3. I just finished 3.
okay.
So
we've seen all 8 of the first season,
and they're renewed for a second season.
Renewed for a second, which I'm looking forward to.
Exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah, I would like to see more on Zahid. That'd be interesting.
Okay, I'm kind of alone in the Zahid skepticism boat.
Yeah, I don't know. I do think he's going to get Sam in trouble because his advice Sam takes literally, and it's not good advice. They showed him looking up one of the pickup site, pickup
early on. He's looking
websites.
at pickup sites. Yeah. So Zahid is, but he's also somebody who speaks in relatively simplistic absolutes, right? And so for a topic that you're not very comfortable, familiar with, if somebody says there's like only 3 rules you have to know,
that's going to feel reassuring.
It's going to feel reassuring.
Yes.
Yeah. I'll just say one thing about Zahid. He seems sincerely interested in being a good friend to Sam.
He does. He's not
I feel like his motivations, he doesn't want to change him. He has optimistic view of him. Like, you can do this.
And he treats him like he's a
normal person. Yeah, that's one of the reasons I like him.
Yeah. I'll give him that.
I think the thing that's going to trip it up, and Guillermo and I were talking, we were working on Poster Boy, the film, earlier today, and while we were waiting for renders, we had a little conversation about this. And one of the things I kind of thought of is like, if Sam was not on the spectrum, if he was neurotypical, or even on the spectrum and doing these things intentionally that we see him do, you would think of him as a villain because he's going to get in with Paige and manipulate her to be his practice girlfriend.
Yes.
Right. So he's using people.
He's coming across really cold.
He's coming across cold and coming across strategic and manipulative. And Zahid is kind of I almost wouldn't be surprised to find out Zahid's imaginary. In like this Fight Clubby kind of way. Spoiler alert for Fight Club. In that, because Zahid offers that same kind of advice. So I think that when you say he's going to get him into trouble, it's going to be reinforcing. Zahid's major sin, in my view, is that he views women as targets to be manipulated, not as people to get to know and to understand. And Sam wants to get to know and understand. He's trying to go light side.
Well, he wants to get to the woman that's the right one for him, so he's willing to. And I don't know if he's aware that people aren't things you practice on. There's people's feelings involved. So when he said to the one girl, I don't really like you. I just need a practice girlfriend.
Right.
He was being honest and upfront. But beneath the Asperger's, is he that kind of sociopathic?
I wouldn't call. No, I wouldn't call it sociopathic because he's a high school age kid, and that people think that way. It seems to be a normal range. It's more like Zahid will reinforce his bad habit. Yeah. Anyway, but speaking of Paige, I interrupt.
Paige, she kind of strikes me as like a teenage Sandra Bernhardt.
A little bit. Yeah, I could see that. Just kind of facially.
A little bit. Election with what's her name?
Oh yeah, who was in
London Breed?
No. Oh God.
Oh,
no,
you
mentioned Election. What?
The movie Election with Matthew Broderick.
Gotcha.
Matthew Broderick and what's her name? Who one of those blonde chicks?
Yeah.
Yeah. Reese Witherspoon.
Yes.
I believe was it? Yes.
I kept thinking of her and that character.
A little bit, but less. Less selfishly driven.
Mm-hmm.
More like everybody else on the show. More empathetic, but definitely down the election path.
Yes.
I'd say for sure. Yeah.
Paige is one of those people who is like trying to change Sam.
I want to just slap her with that card game.
Or convince him that he needs to be changed.
Yeah. But that's a common thing for young girls, teenagers to do with boyfriends. Across the board.
Oh, yeah. Not just teenagers.
I was going to say, are you sure it's just teenagers?
Yeah, like they see men as a project they can work on.
Just a jar of clay. Yes. I'll mold it into whatever I want. That one looks good. I'll take it.
In our worst moments, men see women as objects to acquire. Women see men as projects to complete.
Yes.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something you want to. When you get whiff of that, you don't want. That's going to be an unhealthy relationship.
Because
back out.
Yes,
you have that experience.
Mm-hmm, yes, I have been. I have had that experience. With somebody who would always like curb my behavior. I think and tell me that. And this was a friend who I did a lot for, and we were practically a couple, but. Anyway, she would correct me on certain behaviors and she didn't seem to have much faith in me. And one time she even referred to me when talking to someone else. She said this was a compliment, but when talking to someone else, she referred to me as Rain Man.
Oh.
Yeah, she thought she was giving a compliment because, complimenting my, abilities, the skills I have. And I told her that I kind of resented that.
Yeah, I could see that. Mm-hmm. To be clear, Rain Man has no sense of himself. I mean, you very much do.
Yes.
You're a complete human being.
Yes.
Who's dealing with the same kinds of things we all deal with in different ways. Mm-hmm. And to say Rain Man, that's somebody who's completely isolated from other people's perceptions of the world.
Yes. It's like they say, if you've met someone with autism, you've met someone with autism. You haven't met every person with autism.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And the idea that every person with autism is a savant is absolutely brilliant, and a specific thing isn't true either. And now it's actually, I think, kind of a rare.
Now, when that movie came out, it was not uncommon for people to compliment each other by saying you're Rain Man, but it's because it says you have a photographic memory, you can count cards, you can recite the alphabet backwards, you have some bizarre talent. But it was not a comment on your need for fish sticks and Wapner.
I just think that was really dismissive.
I think so.
Yeah.
So, well, that's
Yeah, and this is someone who suffers from epilepsy, and it's like how would you like it if I told everybody that you have epilepsy? How would you like it if I defined you by that?
Mm-hmm. Right. I think that's a profound statement, that we don't want to be defined by these things. These are paths that we're walking. Right? They're not the color of our skin. They're not our pure history. That's just the part of the force we're in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway,
so Paige. Yeah.
Yes, Paige. Even though she tries to change Sam, she still genuinely cares about him because she likes him so much that she proposes an entire school event to suit his needs.
Yeah, I thought that was a remarkable moment for her. The silent dance.
Yes. Yeah, it's a trend these days, the silent disco, where everybody listens to the music on headphones and just dances.
I think I would like that.
I think I would like it because you might be able to pick different DJs.
Yeah.
Well, you have to be all dancing the same thing, I guess. But I also like the idea that two people can take their headphones off and have a reasonable conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
And you put your headphones on and you're hearing the music perfectly. You're not hearing it bombarded from some weird different place.
Yeah, you're not destroying the neighborhood.
And headphones, to me, headphones sound better than super large speaker systems.
Yeah, true.
Mm-hmm.
So, but also,
especially Beats.
Sam, when he goes on his Tinder date or whatever teen Tinder he's on, he wears the noise canceling headphones,
right?
And he tries to roll some Zahid lines at his date. Like, "Yo, baby, those are mad eyeballs you have." Or
That's the first episode, right?
I think so. That's in Antarctica, I think. Yeah. Or
yeah.
So I like that carrying forward of the noise canceling phones to the silent dance.
Yeah.
That you're taking something that's weird and off-putting and isolating and makes a date bad and turning it into an event that everybody can enjoy. I think that's another part of the great spirit of the show.
Yeah.
When they do that.
Okay.
Now I want to I had something and then it drifted, so let's continue.
Sion brain.
Oh no, yes, Guillermo. No, I wanted to cue you for one of the points you made today, which is something you said you came up with recently, which is that what we haven't seen on the show yet is we haven't seen anybody truly benefit from either knowing Sam or from something Sam does.
Yeah.
He hasn't had a heroic success.
Yeah,
except for over his own things.
Yeah, like he hasn't really been put into a situation where he can he can feel valuable.
Right.
Yeah.
He hasn't shined yet.
Although you might say towards the end when he tries to find Paige's necklace, that seems to be like a moment of redemption, and that makes for a good final episode.
Yeah. But I think it's it's true on the show in general. We've seen this kind of perseverance, but like Paige's move is somewhat heroic. She comes up with this idea based on understanding Sam and champions it and makes a speech, and she's given this moment where we see that because Casey confronts her and says, if you leave him, we're left with the wreckage of him not being able to emotionally process.
Yeah.
And what's especially tough about that is, having been to high school myself, I know going through breakups and things like that is tough when you're 16, 18. I mean, it's not easy. A lot of your definition of yourself comes into that, even if you have a complete, perception of your own emotions, which none of us do, and Sam certainly doesn't.
Yeah.
So I respect that Paige heard that, and decided to make this real commitment to understanding Sam rather than changing him. And I'd like to, I agree with you that I'd like to see Sam get a chance to
shine.
Throw the ring in the volcano, something.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. So, what also happens in episode 1 is, we get introduced to all the characters except for Paige. She doesn't appear until episode 3. And
now she's the one that complimented him in the hall on his shirt or something like that.
Yeah, he ends up dating her.
Yeah, okay.
She's kind of the hypermanic, dirty blonde chick who's a little plain.
But she's not on the spectrum herself.
No. She appears to have a bunch of other problems.
Oh, okay.
But no, she's not on the spectrum. Okay, sorry.
Anyway, so in the first episode, Sam, we learn about him. We learn that he has a turtle, and also that he used to work with emotion cards, which is something that I have not worked with, but I know somebody way more disabled than me who, when I visited their place, they had word cards on everything, like, the fridge and the sink.
Yeah, now that's something like the PEX program, the picture exchange, which is what my daughter was doing for a while because she was nonverbal. She had a Velcro strip and a bunch of different options that she could, she would literally make a visual sentence with this
So the emotion cards are cards that you kind of play or lay or push or point at to indicate your emotions so that you don't have to speak them.
Yes. Yeah. In episode 1, Sam also researches dating and catcalling, taking Zahid's cue. And we also learn that Sam gets triggered by words, including twat.
So now we're dealing with some of Sam's... Oh, we forgot to mention that we saw, speaking of dealing with your emotions, we saw Who Should Be My Neighbor.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah. I don't want to derail this whole thing.
I think it's a must-see film.
Highly recommended. And on this
Mr.
topic...
Rogers,
of treating... because the way he talks about children... the thing that he said that I think is very profound is that children have emotions that are as complex and rich and nuanced as ours. They just don't have the skills to communicate them, and they don't have the experiences to contextualize them. And that's what Fred Rogers' whole philosophy was based on, was providing this safe place to grow and to nurture your ability to process your negative emotions.
Yes, it's something we all need, especially today.
Yeah. So please, everyone, go see it. Just
it's a masterpiece.
It's a just beautiful movie. Yeah.
Yes, about a beautiful human being.
Absolutely.
Okay. Anyway, back to episode 1. Sam goes on a date with somebody named Bree, and that goes bad. And then he goes on another date with a redhead whose name escapes me at the moment. And they're about to have sex, but he kind of flinches before it.
Right.
And so, soon he learns that he is in love with Julia, his therapist. Big cliffhanger. Makes you want to go into the second one.
Let's go to the second episode. Let's go to how this works out.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll be fine.
Indeed. So, in episode 2, Sam learns that Julia has a boyfriend. And this is where he starts drawing comparisons of, between the animals in Antarctica and the show's characters.
Right.
Like the penguins that mate for life.
He keeps noting which animals mate for life. It's like if your life is only 2 years, mating for life is not as much of a challenge.
Yeah. But his dad kind of, in my opinion, fucks up in this a little bit. He's trying to make him feel better, and he says, well, your mom was dating someone else when I met her, and so...
Yeah, right. He says, he tells Sam, I was persistent with your mom, and so...
And he just bought Julia a whole bunch of trouble, I think.
Yes. Because...
now he's going to go be persistent.
Because when Sam tells his dad that he loves someone, what Doug does is set him up to break into her house and leave chocolate strawberries.
Which women love that. Yeah. They love it. They
love to have their house broken.
They love it when you creep in on them. With the pushy
sent
love.
Him to creep it to break in. He dropped him off at the door thinking he was going to ring the bell and give them to her.
Gary, I think this goes to your point early on. He would know not to do that, right? I think cock of the walk is more forgivable than be persistent
and get these chocolate
strawberries to her by hook or by crook, because again with literalism, but also just the other thing to remember. So Rappaport is he's a little older than I am, right? Our generation, maybe we had all these 80s comedies or whatever. Persistence today is not perceived with the same generosity of spirit that it was in the 80s, right? And so, especially if you are not good at social cues and you might want to have a more boundary-driven early
it's going to come off creepy as fuck.
Because no means fucking no.
Exactly.
Right. Like, God, no. The one was like, no, I don't want to go out with you. And then he says, what if I told you you're just my practice girlfriend? Does that make it better? That makes it worse.
Yeah.
And I like that because I like that we can laugh a little bit at the...
Yes.
The performances are so good that it's like you can laugh a little bit at that, but it's actually kind of touching.
Well, it's also... I think sometimes laughter is a way to dispel your own anxieties when you see yourself in the joke.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So a lot of times when people are laughing at jokes, they're not really laughing at another person, they're laughing at their own anxiety. And
in the best of these kind of high school things, even without spectrum issues, the best, you always see yourself on both sides.
Yes. And you're going, oh my God, I remember when I did blah, blah, blah.
I did that, or somebody did that to me.
Exactly.
Yes, and so Sam and his dad are... breaking into this person's house, and then he reveals that it's Julia, And Doug is, he starts panicking, like, abort mission.
This is a grown-ass woman.
Yes, indeed.
And your therapist.
Yes.
Abort mission.
But he was not okay. He was okay with that, but he wasn't okay with him putting the practice girl in the closet.
Indeed.
No.
Which I actually thought he handled that situation rather well. She was being very annoying.
Yes, meanwhile...
As Michael Rappaport used to get the girl out of the closet.
Yes. Meanwhile, the mother, Elsa, goes to a women's group, a group of moms of kids with autism. And we find that she is attracted to the bartender at this local bar, and she has a hot moment with him. And, she goes to the bar so often that she leaves her credit card, and Doug tries to go there and get it back. And we keep thinking, is he going to find out?
Yeah, I thought there'd be some drama to that. But then I love the whole guys just won't. I can't give it to you, man.
Yeah.
He's just being a dick.
Yes.
Well, he wanted her to come back.
Of course.
Yeah, he was never going to see her again if she didn't.
Yeah.
Right.
Or maybe.
Yeah.
Yes, and Casey, meanwhile, learns the truth about Evan after hearing all these rumors about him, and they kiss.
I would like to see Casey and Evan on Stranger Things. I think they'd be very good characters on that show. Better than the douchebag teenagers that they added this season. Is Casey and Evan, some nice older teenagers. But anyway.
Anyway, on to episode 3, the practice girlfriend. This is where we really get into that. In this one, Sam seems more confident about what he needs, and so Zahid helps him with clothes shopping. And, Sam isn't too comfortable with the leather jacket, which is something I wish I had. We also learn that Doug works as an EMT, and he finally meets Evan. And before that, he and Casey are jogging, and she learns that he was absent for several years, and she doesn't react to it very well.
I thought it was several months.
Several months,
Yeah, it was 8 months.
8 months.
Okay.
But on the jog is where she tells him she kissed a boy. And
yes,
he
indeed.
kind of
And
loses it.
Sam is the one who tells her, because she's like, why weren't you in the autism run in 04?
Yes, the
Right.
walk.
Right, so the autism walk, whatever it was. And he said, I had a work thing. And speaking of Evan being dumb, Evan's like, why is your dad lying?
Yeah.
I had a work thing? Come on. Right.
Anyway, we find out that Doug missed the walk because he couldn't deal with Sam's autism.
Yeah.
Now, I can empathize with both the mom and the dad on this because it's a kick in the gut. You're dealing with a child whose behaviors you don't understand, you don't know why all this is happening, and you just kind of want it to go away.
Yeah, I can imagine that's pretty rough.
So freak out happens a lot. It's very high divorce rate among.
But now I wonder though, because your daughter's far down the line, right? And like Sam and Guillermo and others are highly functional beings who are maybe a little literal and a little awkward, but who isn't, right? Yeah. So the question is, how much was there for him to not deal with when Sam was 3 or 4?
Yeah, and I think they mentioned something about the meltdowns being a lot more frequent.
Yeah, but I mean, the terrible
small.
twos are terrible for a wide range of people, and so
and meltdowns are one of the many things that everybody seems to associate with autism.
Right. And he also left. He didn't just leave them. So he couldn't deal with Sam's autism, but Casey was 1 year old.
Yeah.
At that point, or so, or 2, maybe 2, but heading toward 2.
Yeah.
And so I don't think we got the whole story here yet.
Did they follow up on it in this season?
They don't go.
I'm only on 3,
they don't go into a lot of detail.
Okay.
But essentially, his story. He left. He went. He occupied a house that his dad owned. He was working on the place. He was depressed and drinking a lot, and he just ultimately decided he made a mistake.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. But I think. Well, I guess what I'm getting to is I think it's more than Sam, because a 3-year-old who's Asperger's, who's not completely, like having to be institutionalized or anything like that.
Yeah.
And a newborn.
It can be pretty severe.
I'm sure, but I'd like to see a little more. I'm not saying there's a big secret. I'm just more like there's probably a rich experience there.
Yeah.
Do you remember how you were when you were 3?
Well, there is this story my mom likes to tell of when I was 3. she left me with a babysitter, and she told the babysitter not to turn on the TV, not to watch TV. And later on, when she came back, she knew the babysitter had turned on the TV because she heard me repeating, "Lee, press on nail."
Not twat.
Caught, busted.
Lee, press on nails. That's great.
Yeah.
But, that's the kind of thing that can happen to any of us, though, right?
Yeah.
Children or parrots when we're that age, definitely.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Okay, so we're dealing with the Julia Says episode still, right?
Yeah. Anyway, so still in episode 3, Elsa, responds to the text she got from Nick the bartender. Mm-hmm. She still hates Julia because of what Julia says, and decides to reinvent herself and start an affair with Nick.
Yes. Well, at one point, Sam says something along the lines of, like, Julia says I should just have sex with Paige or with some other girl or whatever. Now, Julia said no such thing.
Yeah.
But he has to admit, it's like, well, she didn't exactly say it that way, but,
Yeah.
So it's like, don't try to infer, kid.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is the wrong time to start inferring.
Julia, meanwhile, discovers a strawberry underneath her couch because it's fallout from the time that Sam and Doug broke in, and she only discovers it because of a trail of ants going under her couch.
The telltale strawberry.
Yes. Makes you want to go to the next episode immediately.
Oh my God, what's going to happen now? Yeah, I do like the telltale strawberry plotline.
Thump, thump. Thump, thump.
Yes.
Thump, thump.
Yep.
In episode 4, there is an incident at Casey's track meet. Remind me about this, Jason.
So Sam is Sam and Doug and Elsa are standing in the
bleachers
watching Casey run. She's doing a 100-yard or something like that. And I forget what. It was mosquito. So Sam is saying, people think the most dangerous animal in the world is a shark or a bear or something like that. It's actually mosquitoes. Mosquitoes kill more human beings than any other animal.
Yeah. That's right.
Unless, depending on your definition of animal, but certainly independent flying around beasts.
Yeah.
And he sees, I believe, a mosquito flying toward the girl standing in front of him. And he grabs, like he's going to grab the mosquito. And he gets her hair. And he's pulling the hair, and then Doug is telling him, let go, let go, let go. And so there's a pulling hair, let go, let go, let go. And they miss Casey's whole performance.
Yes.
And so it's kind of the highlighting of the, like, okay, this is Casey's shining moment. And of course, Sam, who's been very stable and everything else, has this. So that's what happened there.
Yes. But things aren't all bad for Casey because she wins the track meet. And Clayton Prep wants to recruit her. That's how good she is.
Yeah.
And, she brings Evan to dinner and wears Elsa's jacket. And it's during dinner that Evan calls out her parents. He calls them on their bullshit.
Yeah. I forget, what was the bullshit call?
Like, you're not doing right by Sam or something.
Or by Casey.
Or by Casey
By
as
Casey,
well.
yeah. He would be her champion.
Yeah.
More than Sam's, right?
Anyway, back to Sam.
I do like that Evan kid. I like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. He's likable.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to Sam. Paige wants to be his study partner. And Zahid convinces him to ask her out.
That's when he says, why would I do that? I'm getting an A and you're only getting an A minus. It would not benefit me. Because that's the point of study partner, is to exploit the other person.
Sure.
Yes.
So meanwhile, Elsa hooks up with the bartender again and hears voices in her head when she's at the store.
I thought that was her. The guilt montage was really great. She stops at a slut sign instead of a stop sign.
Yeah,
and like the over the he's like, we've opened another line it's as open as Elsa's legs or something. I mean, it's like really crude. Really crude self-slut shaming that she's doing.
Yeah. And Elsa is also doubtful of Casey's possible transfer to Clayton.
Now, what'd you make? So Casey says, well, I'm going to Clayton. It's like, you're not going to stay here. And it's like, no, I'm kind of going to be done with high school. Right. And she has this. Now, I went to school out of town.
Yeah.
Right. And I found it really valuable to not be here. I mean, I grew up in San Francisco.
Yeah.
So it's like you have a lot of opportunity to change your life here. But I went to L.A. Instead of Berkeley, largely because of that. Because I was like, get away from my parents and my friends and everything else and get some new parents and new friends.
Yeah.
And Elsa seems to not be interested in letting Casey have that because she says, basically she says, what am I going to do about Sam without you here? So it's interesting because I haven't seen a whole lot of other elements in the story that indicate that Elsa deeply respects Casey's help that she offers on Sam. You know, and I'm wondering how much of that is I don't want to lose you for myself.
Yes.
Well, there's a thing, and my feminism kind of kicks in on this one, where a lot of women raise their daughters to be their handmaidens and help around the house.
Yes.
And help them raise the boys, and they treat the boys like princes.
Right.
And there's some good evolutionary theory behind it, but it sets up this mess.
Right. Especially in modern society.
And it's like you got a bunch of boys that don't know how to make a bed or wash their own toilet, and now that's going to cause friction in their relationships with women as they get into that.
Yeah.
And then you've got girls who can't strike out on their own because they feel indebted to helping mom, who's overwhelmed.
Yeah, and that's definitely resonating as a theme as the general underlying thing. And then you have the specifics here, which I think are Sam is, has some special needs. He doesn't feel like he's going to need Casey at the bat, literally, the whole time. And I think, I also think Elsa wants to
heard them talk about, and she talked about it in her interview, that he has these meltdowns, and she's like the person there for him. We haven't seen a meltdown.
Not a meltdown. We saw the hair grab moment. That's the closest thing we saw, and that was more of a. And
he was trying to protect the girl.
Yeah.
Yes, but he also wasn't complying and listening and that kind of thing. And we also saw not really a meltdown, but a panic attack breakdown when Julia. Spoiler alert! When Julia goes after him, finds out what happened.
Yes, the strawberry sows a seed of suspicion in Julia towards the end of episode 4, and the plot thickens. Meanwhile, Doug goes to the group with Elsa and is bombarded by the language police. They tell him to refer to Sam as a kid with autism, not an autistic kid.
Yeah, people first language.
Yes. Anyway, meanwhile, Paige sneaks a look at Sam's notebook with the pros and cons that he's written about her.
Bad type. Controlling type A Paige.
Yes. And so the plot thickens there, too.
Yes.
And with so many plots thickening, it only makes sense to move on to episode 5.
So Julia's boyfriend's name is Miles.
Yes.
We don't get to see Miles. He's only on the phone. But, she's basically thinking that he's... Cheating in their house.
Oh, the strawberry.
The strawberry. And she's like, this is a sex food. She's like, maybe you got it and you forgot about it. I wouldn't have forgotten about it. It's sex food, and you did it
I
with
love
somebody.
that, sex food. I'm going to use that term.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'm just trying to picture, having seen the inside of Julia's apartment, I'm trying to picture how one could have some kind of wild bacchanalious affair. And hide it from her because the place is very tidy.
It's
incredibly tidy.
Yep.
And so you'd think you would hit a hotel room or something like that if that's what you're.
So
if you were Miles, they had that in mind.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Well, what Miles actually does is, that's it. I'm out of here, and he leaves with the HD TV.
That's right. He took the TV. Oh, I forgot that. That was so good. I took the TV and the sheets. He said. The TV and the sheets. What kind of guy is this? I'm taking the TV and the sheets. I guess he wrapped the TV in the sheets.
I guess so.
Yeah, okay.
Anyway, back to Sam.
Yeah.
Paige makes a card system for Sam, which is like...
I just hate this.
Yes. Every time he talks about penguins, she has to give him a card which indicates that it's like strikes.
3 strikes you're out,
3 penguins and you're out.
Yeah. And so, for that reason, she kind of gets on Sam's nerves.
Yeah, really. She gets on mine.
Yeah. She's
I had such a visceral reaction to that scene.
I know you did. Every time we've seen it a couple times, and you're like, I hate these cards.
Yeah.
So, she's very forward with Sam, especially with his sweatshirt. Like, she keeps it because it smells like him.
Right.
That's what girls do.
That's what girls do.
Yes.
You're supposed to take this as a high compliment, but he wants his sweatshirt.
Yes, and Sam kind of breaks it off with her, and then he realizes that he focused too much on the negative, I think. At least that's what I'm trying to distinguish from my notes. But anyway, he tells Casey off after Paige breaks up.
Well, because Casey told Paige that, like we said before, don't leave us with a wreckage of a Sam. You don't know what you're doing. Right. And
she tells her, you're making everything worse.
Right.
Casey, meanwhile, prepares for Clayton Prep and has a peer interview in which she talks about NTs.
Right, and she thought they were empties when she was young.
Yes. Elsa, meanwhile, looks at the blog Autism with a Side of Fries.
Yes.
And I have here a link of the post that mentions the show. Yeah, this is a blog that I don't read very often, but it's written by a mom who
it's
has...
a real blog?
It is a real blog.
Wow. Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
Yes, it's all one word, autismwithasideoffries.blogspot.com. And it's a post from October 2017, which is called All Aboard, I think. And this is where the blogger mentions that, yes, I know that people have told me that my blog was featured on the show. And, that entry has a reaction to that. So...
I'll make sure that's posted on the show notes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I just assumed it was some normal bullshit
indeed.
webpage.
Anyway, back to Elsa. She is invited to Nick's birthday and says no.
I love that.
Later, they celebrate with a cupcake with a candle and more kissing.
Well, there's more than invited, though, right? Mm-hmm. Because she's on her computer.
Yeah.
And then the Silver Shamrock Happy Halloween flashing stroke-inducing, seizure-inducing invite comes up, and she can't get rid of it, and she can't shut it up, and it keeps coming on her phone.
Yeah.
Right? Even though she's off the list, and everyone who confirms it comes to her phone, and she's by the washing machine, so she won't be overheard. Talking into the phone.
Oh, the pink shows and the dryer.
Yeah.
Because
she's worried about being caught having an affair, you know, and, I kind of think like the way we live, it's like if you and I saw some birthday invitation on each other's phone, there wouldn't be who is this person? You must tell me. Some person you met at a bar or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think that I don't know that Doug would have been all that perceptive of it necessarily. It's just that shows you what guilt will do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Guilt will make you crazy.
Indeed. On to Doug. An old friend comes over for dinner, and so he and Doug catch up. Anybody remember anything about that?
Not much. I don't quite remember that scene. Who's the friend?
I don't remember the friend's name, but probably somebody from college, I think. Somebody that Doug knew in college.
Could be. I vaguely remember that, but I don't have anything here in my notes.
Was there a reveal of some kind out of this meeting? Or?
I don't recall.
Yeah, well, they've been out of touch for years, I think.
Yeah.
And so, Doug also tells Elsa to stop focusing so much on autism, I think.
Yeah.
Which I think is probably somewhat a step in the right direction. He's sticking up for Sam.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I think the function of the friend is that we see Elsa being able to talk to strangers a little bit or acquaintances.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. We don't see Doug relating much to anybody outside the family. Mm-hmm. So I think they just sort of had a friend so he could speak some of his basic truths that would be awkward to say to his kids or to his wife. Yeah.
Indeed. On to episode 6.
Episode 6.
Paige wants to go to the winter formal with Sam and also wants to have sex with him. In fact, she cares about him so much that she proposes a silent dance where, people dance to music on headphones instead of through speakers. And this is something that's been done before, silent disco. I've seen that done before. Meanwhile, Zahid takes Sam to a titty club.
Which actually might not be a terrible thing to do.
Yes, but for Sam, it's kind of too much.
Overwhelmed by titty bar.
Yes. He brings a stripper over to Sam, and so she gives Sam some advice and prepares him by exposing her breasts.
Actually, he meets her on his own.
Oh, okay.
Out front, she's sitting.
She's smoking.
Yes.
She's smoking and waiting for her her ride or whatever. And
Says hi to Zahid.
Right. Yeah, her name is Dolores or some shit. I forget what it was. Delilah. And she because he's never seen breasts in the world, I guess. I mean, you get on the internet, you can see them anywhere, I guess, but alive. And so she helps him out with that, crossing that bridge.
I mean, dude, come on, I have.
Yeah, you're a man of the world. You're not Sam. The question is, how much is like a high school kid? First of all, how do you get into titty bar when you're 18?
Yeah, I didn't catch that.
Is there's not 18 and older.
Maybe
titty
the
bar.
age limit is different in Connecticut because that's where it takes place.
Drinking is all 21 everywhere, and that stuff's got
not
it.
everywhere, but most places.
No, everywhere.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, because they choke out your highway funds if you don't get it. Colorado was the last holdout in the 80s. Yeah, as I recall. Somebody's going to phone me on that one. But,
Yes. Casey, meanwhile, is shunned by her peers and tricked, because they're worried that she's going to leave and go to Clayton Prep and they won't make it to finals or something. Their track team won't make it to the big time because Casey might be doing the selfish thing and leaving.
Right.
And
That's quite the dilemma.
yes. So Casey's BFF Charisse confronts her. He's like, "They made me do it. They made me do this horrible thing to you." And so the two of them make up, which is nice. Meanwhile, Elsa stays the night with Nick and even hits his bong. She runs into a friend at the mall
So funny.
and accidentally blabs about the Clayton acceptance.
Yes.
And really tries to make it up to Casey.
Now, I love Jennifer Jason Leigh. She's one of my favorite Jasons, like my second favorite Jason. And just walking down, I don't know where it was, but it looked like Rodeo or something.
It did, yeah.
Just stuffing her face with that stoner food.
Yes.
She's got
And the big glasses.
got the big glasses.
And just being all like...
Just airy-fairy. I mean,
Reinventing herself.
And then screwing up. Like being... Sion, you said she wants to be a teenager.
Yeah, I definitely think she wants to go back.
Walking down the street, eating an ice cream cone, and then fucking up your life because you brag at somebody, who's fronting to you.
Well, it's just
That's
like
so
some of the stuff that Sam does when he says something awkward at the wrong time.
Right.
Yeah.
But she's also got her filters down because she's stoned.
Right.
And yeah.
Elsa also tries to hook up Sam with another autistic kid. Now, this is something that, my parents tried to do with me. They tried to introduce me to other people my age, during my teen years. Introduce other people my age who also were on the spectrum. And sometimes it kind of backfired.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't really relating to them in as many ways as they thought I would. I mean, I kind of want to see more of this friend. I don't remember his name, but he right now appears as a one-sentence stereotype.
Right.
I say either give him a backstory or just don't show him anymore.
Yeah, good one. I think so. Yeah. There's lazy writing happens, everywhere.
Yeah.
But that's actually a good question. Would you say, generally speaking, that you relate better to people who are more on the far opposite end?
Well,
who are like, except like Fred Rogers level super neuro, beyond typical, neuro super typical, I guess would be the way to put it. Yeah. Or do you find related to other people on the spectrum? Because like you said, when you meet one person with autism, you haven't met everybody with autism.
Yeah.
And you guys might have miscommunications with each other like anybody would.
Well, I do know this one guy who lives in Natick, and the reason I've been friends with him for so long is, for one thing, we both like Sesame Street. He likes it like probably more than I do, but I like it more than you guys. I mean, especially the episodes from the 70s and 80s and sometimes the 90s. Those are the show's peak years, and they still provide a level of comfort for me, a level of familiarity. Like whenever I'm alone at home and cleaning the house, I find it really helps if I put on an old Sesame Street episode in the background and then just, clean my apartment while I'm listening to familiar stuff from my childhood.
The lullabies.
In a way.
Jason, you have lullabies like that.
Yeah, I got lullabies like that.
You've got movies you watch over and over and over again and listen to while you're coding.
My new one is Blade Runner 2049.
Ooh.
That's a new lullaby.
How many times have you watched it?
Probably 4.
And are you listening to earphones at work?
No. I listen to podcasts and stuff at work.
Okay.
But I listen to the soundtrack going to sleep.
Yeah.
You know, and I've started to say, speaking of which, self-soothing behaviors, I have my own little tilted slightly in that direction. My dad has some elements of that as well.
OCD.
And I've started to say interlinked in cells between repetitive things. So it's like, welcome to the podcast, in cells, interlinked in cells. It's becoming like my own self-soothing repetitive behavior.
Yeah, indeed. Doug, meanwhile, in episode 6, visits Julia and offers to help with her broken foot. Because Julia, meanwhile, is bitter since Miles left, and I don't remember how she injured her foot.
I forget. Yeah, that does this happen later? That she comes to the Tech Mart place to buy a TV?
Yes, later.
That happens later. Okay. So
Anyway.
I don't remember how she injures her foot.
Yeah. So Doug, since he's an EMT, he offers to help her with her foot, and he also wants to work on himself. Julia also reveals that she has an autistic brother, who we have not seen yet.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah. Just one of those things I picked up.
Okay, yeah, no, that drifted past my transom. Okay.
At the end, Julia learns that she's pregnant.
Yes, that I remember.
Big cliffhanger again.
Big cliffhanger, so you want to roll right into episode 7.
Episode 7. So
The Last Jedi.
So, Paige admits to Sam that she's in love, and Sam doesn't know if he loves her. He goes to the Olive Garden to case the joint, and, he checks off all 3 of the love points, that he's written down. And, he realizes that his feelings for Julia are rekindled.
Oh, good.
Julia,
Right.
a broken single mother-to-be.
Right.
She runs into Sam at Techtropolis when shopping for a new TV.
That's right.
And to prepare him for these...
And that outfit she was wearing.
Oh, yes.
with the
That's something I would with the blankie.
Just throw the blanket over myself and go get a TV.
Yes. So, in the parking lot, she shows him how to slow dance. Which is what rekindles his feelings for her.
And that is so unethical.
Yeah.
That felt, especially...
I think it's abusive and unethical.
She doesn't yet know how he feels about her.
She's not supposed to be doing that with
I know she's not supposed to.
Yes.
Whatever. She's wearing a blanket in the middle of the night trying to buy a TV.
She's crazy.
But it's a difficult scene to watch because what this moment is meaning for him. And they did a really great job with the montaging of that.
Yes.
It's like to him it was this incredibly romantic moment. Right.
And meanwhile, in preparation for the dance, Sam asks Doug to build him an igloo, kind of like he did when Sam was a kid. So Doug and Elsa tell Sam about love. And I don't remember what they said, but what do you think of what they said?
When did you know? He's like, when did you know that you fell in love? And I believe, and I have it in my notes, but I'm not entirely sure. I believe the line they use is the as good as it gets thing that Doug says that Elsa makes him want to be a better person.
Which is one of my favorite lines.
Yes.
Which I think is the statement of a loving romantic relationship, right? There can be all kinds of love, and there's all kinds of ways to have sex and whatnot. But if you're going to have a relationship that's going to work, it's going to be because the other person makes you want to be better than you are.
Yeah.
I think you and I have that.
Yes, we have it. I have it with Guillermo.
Yeah. And so
he makes me want to be a better person, and he shows me some ways.
And I think it's a huge
and Gary, I have some of that with Gary too, because he's like, we've been able to talk about deep stuff, and it's like, well, you might want to try doing this a little more gentle.
And there are some parallels between this series and As Good as It Gets, because you're dealing in that.
I love that.
He's on the Nicholson spectrum.
That's OCD.
He's buried, but not OCD, just OCD, but he's abusive and horrible and whatnot. And when he says you make me want to be a better person, it's like I can't imagine anybody would make you want to be a worse person.
Unless they piss you off.
I can, a great Kinnear clearly makes you want to stay the same. I get that. You're not in love with him. Right. But I did like, in that film, the triad of those characters. He's a lot like the characters in this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Casey, meanwhile, reveals to her mom that she's not ready for sex. She finds out that she got into Clayton. And on her bike, she passes by her mom, kissing the bartender.
Yep.
Yeah, so in a rebellious response, I suppose, Casey and Evan start doing it.
Always the best choice.
That was a really funny face you made.
Always the best choice is to go have the underage premarital sex.
As a revenge.
As a revenge strategy against your parents.
Gee, Jason, are you talking from experience?
No, because I didn't do it as a revenge. Didn't do it out of revenge. Also, I think Casey's 18 or whatever, so underage might be an exaggeration. But no, the idea that she had chosen for herself to maintain this distance with Evan because she's focusing on her athletics and her college career and whatnot. It's probably ultimately a wise choice.
I did too. I had boyfriends, but I didn't have sex in high school.
I had sex in high school, but we broke up and we went on to our things, and we're friends now. So whatever. Yeah, but
and she's in Poster Boy.
Yes, but it felt like pathetically realistic. That she was just say, well, if you're just going to throw away your whole things that you think about, I'm going to enjoy yourself. And it feels a little bit like the way Elsa is with Doug.
Yeah.
It's like you walked out on us when I needed to carry a newborn and a newly diagnosed son, and because you needed your 8 months or whatever. And when's my 8 months? And one of the things that Elsa says she's trying to break up with this. She does break up with the bartender.
Yes.
Even though she
lies and says she's bowling.
Right. But she says to him, she says, I needed you to be there for me because, he's upset that she wasn't available for him emotionally when he was feeling down about something.
Yeah, because he mourns the loss of a friend.
Right. And he says, it's all just about you. And she says, yeah, finally, something's about me. And I think we see also a parallel with Sam. Elsa's using this bartender. She's not interested in an emotional relationship with him. She's interested in using him to party.
Just like Sam is with Paige.
Right, exactly. So we're seeing these parallels. And now Casey is with Evan. I think Casey cares more about Evan, but she's using him to alleviate a sexual narcissistic injury almost.
Yeah.
Okay, that's my rant.
Yep. So I think that pretty much wraps up episode 7. Now on to the finale, the silencing properties of snow.
Yes.
The big dance. So there's a dinner before the dance, and Julia occupies Sam's mind during the dinner, and he's with Paige and her family, and right then and there, he breaks up with Paige.
That was cold.
It's one of the most painful moments in the show.
Yeah. It's like very Dave Chappelle. That was cool-blooded.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Casey shuts away and tells Evan off, and then she visits Nick at the bar, learns that her mom ended it, and is still pissed.
Sounds like mother-daughter stuff to me.
Yes.
Yep.
And Elsa, meanwhile, is doing the girl's hair and has a confrontation with Casey, of course.
We should point out that the other mother who Elsa had the spat with, right, who looks like what's her name from Claws and Reno 911. I keep thinking it's her. But
Niecy Nash?
It looks like Niecy Nash, but it's not. It's like hits my Niecy Nash receptors. Yeah. She complains that, well, if we're going to do this dance with the Bluetooth headphones, we all had our hair done, and it's going to mess up the hair. So Elsa agrees to redo everybody's hair.
Yes.
With hairdos that will be headphone compatible. Yeah.
Elsa and Doug, meanwhile, get a little bit closer. She tells Doug, "You were right to push him." And she opens up about the split that they had. And she deletes Nick from her phone. So she's trying to go into the right direction.
So she tells Doug about the affair she had?
No.
Oh.
No.
Right-ish direction.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, Sam confesses his feelings for Julia, and then she totally chews him out.
Yeah, you want to talk about the most painful scene?
Yes.
Yeah.
And right after that, he has a panic attack on the bus, and he hides himself in his room, in his bed.
Uh-huh.
He just shuts himself off. Zahid visits him, and then Paige shows up, and, she's really pissed.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Yeah, she destroys the large stuffed penguin that she was going to give him as a Christmas present or something.
Yeah.
And it's at this point that Sam starts narrating about empathy.
Mm-hmm.
Having felt empathy, he attempts to find Paige's missing necklace, which, according to Zahid, is stalkery sweet.
So Paige, by the way, goes full Carrie Fisher in Blues Brothers. She might as well have a machine gun.
Oh, yes.
We should also mention that in the panic attack scene, so his panic attack begins as Julia is
yelling at him.
chewing him out. Mm-hmm. And it's really painful to watch.
Yes.
Because an adult therapist should not get to this position.
Indeed.
And then he gets on the bus, but one of the things I found really, I didn't pick up right away until Doug talked to him, is that the bus driver is special needs.
Oh.
He seems to speak as though he is, below average IQ.
Mm-hmm.
Like it might be, and so, but he seems to know Sam and their friends and that kind of thing. And maybe it's not, maybe I'm just reading the performance wrong or whatever, but it seems like he was very direct and simple and anxious in a way that, someone who is with an IQ of 80 or 90 might be.
Well, he seemed to know what to do when Sam had the breakdown.
Yeah, so he was very capable. He took care of Sam. He parked the bus. He got Doug there, and it just felt like another little nice affirming moment of somebody who you can have some challenges in life and you can still be of value and have these skills.
Yes, in elementary school I would ride the short bus, as they call it.
Oh.
And,
God, I hate that term.
And they I usually struck up conversations with the drivers, and looking back, I could tell that some of the drivers who drove the short bus were possibly on the spectrum themselves.
Perhaps former passengers.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They'll be very familiar with it, right? And it'd be something that you aspire to.
All of us find something that we enjoyed as a kid and go, I want to be that when I grow up.
Yeah. And I agree with you there. I think using short bus is a derisive term. Yeah. I think the existence of the short bus is a good thing.
Yeah.
I think it's a positive.
Yeah, but so many people use it as a slur.
It's used as a slur.
Yeah, well, anyway, that happened until high school.
Right.
Anyway, back to the dance.
The dance.
This is Sam's attempt to be a hero for Paige by bringing back her missing necklace. And Casey sees the silent dance and is really impressed with it.
It does look cool. Mm-hmm. Looked like everybody's having a good time.
Yeah, the igloo came out great. So Paige and Sam have a moment in the igloo where they discuss their future, and Paige doesn't want to be a couple, but says that they can, quote-unquote, mess around.
You can do the mess around. Show each other.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So, after that, Sam announces that he got a hand job.
Go, Sam. Mm-hmm. So, you're through the gate, Sam.
Yeah.
You're on the road. That's good.
And meanwhile, we find out that Doug kept the secret about Julia from, Elsa in order to be close to Sam.
Yeah, I found that interesting. It's like, we have a secret from you is a bonding thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Even if it's something I should tell you.
Yeah, terrible thing for parents to do to each other.
Yes.
Generally speaking, yeah. But I can sympathize with the element of I just wanted something with Sam.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And Casey offers to turn down the scholarship to Clayton for Sam's sake, and also apologizes to Evan for telling him off earlier.
Right.
And then she does something that's really, that really causes the big cliffhanger for season 2. There's a chore board on the wall. There's a whiteboard, and Casey sometimes writes sassy things on it.
Mom takes stick out of ass. It's on her to-do list.
Yes, exactly.
That would be my daughter.
Anyway, Anyway,
Sir Karma.
Anyway, so Casey writes in Elsa's column, "Stop banging the bartender." Whoa. Doug sees this, and, he's like, who wrote that? Like, why would someone write that? And we zoom in on Elsa. Uh-oh.
Busted. So,
yes.
And there we are. That's season one.
Concludes season one.
So concludes season one. I thought it was a very good show, because I like that there is this soap opera-like drama.
Yeah.
And the characters are all generally good.
Yeah.
It's a lot of humanity.
It's a lot of humanity.
Yeah.
I like the humor.
I like that we can laugh at and with Sam and without losing the show. It never becomes farce, and it never becomes overly maudlin. So it's got a good basic tone. I do need some reality out of Zahid. He feels like a Grand Theft Auto character.
Well, I can't wait to catch up on it.
Yeah.
And
So-
any notification on when season 2 comes?
Well, I think it'll be sometime in August or September. I mean, I've seen articles indicating that there will be a season 2, and there's also a video with the creator, Robia Rashid.
Yeah.
There's a video where, she's talking about what to expect in season 2.
What is
I
it?
have not watched it.
Okay.
Well, I think we go deep into Casey because, if she turned down the scholarship for Sam, that's yet another thing that her relationship with her brother is costing her.
Right.
So that can't go on forever. There's got to be...
No, but I imagine just for the purposes of a show, they'll have her do it so that she'll stay in the
show,
in the drama. Right?
Yeah. Well,
I stay in the cast.
Yeah, I hope they flesh it out.
Yeah.
And there's some... I don't know if it's blowback is the right word, but just, see the results of her having to give up so much.
Freeze her in carbonite, see if they can bring her back. Because that was Harrison Ford wanting to leave Star Wars. So it's like, we'll freeze you and then decide whether to bring you back or not. If you don't, we'll have an excuse.
Yeah, no, I think she's a big part of the heart of the show.
Yeah.
I think you could do the show without Casey. I think, but it wouldn't be as good. I think it's impossible to do without Elsie and Doug.
Well, the Casey and the mom dynamic is, it's gone. She crossed the line that you can't come back from when she wrote on the fridge, "Stop banging the bartender."
Yeah.
That, I want to see where that plays out,
see
too.
how that- yeah.
Because she's always had this little kind of snippy relationship with
But it's
mom.
been little pokes. It hasn't been
Right.
a
This
strong
is like
sword.
a big, huge thing.
And one of the things, Sion, that you brought up, how much she wants to be your daughter's best friend or just a teenager.
Yeah, like the way she lays on the bed with her.
laying on the bed. That
She's
scene.
just like, oh, look how cute I am. We're the equals.
But
We're
I'm
peers.
going with my just love of Jennifer Jason Leigh. It's like, look how she can bring the physicality of this performance.
She's really bringing a lot of nuance.
A lot of nuance to Elsie. Elsie would be a very unsympathetic character without an actress of that level. I feel like Doug. I like Michael Rappaport, but I feel like a lot of guys could play Doug.
Yeah.
I don't feel like a lot of women could have played Elsie very well.
Yeah.
So I want to praise that performance. All right, well, we'll definitely do this again for season 2. Thank you so much, Guillermo. This was really awesome. Everybody check out. We will continue to promote Poster Boy if and when it becomes available online for views. We want our people to see it. I worked on movies with Sion and Gary and everything like that. This is one of my favorites that we've done. Sion helped produce this thing and bring it together, and it's got a hell of a lot of heart. It's a great movie, and I say that having done very little for it myself.
Thanks.
I'm not bragging. So I want everybody to check it out. If you're in San Francisco, please come to the Scary Cow Festival. And
July 7th.
July 7th.
Yep.
And unless we have anything else, do we have anything else? Well, if we don't have anything else, then remember, you might have romantic problems. You might have cognitive issues. You might have emotional problems. You might have financial problems. But at least you're not a fucking penguin. Good night, everybody.
So long, everyone.